All right, the rise of the Macho One, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. And this is a video that I've been looking forward to doing for quite some time. And it's going to be the rise of the Macho Man in the media, the magazines, the programs, his life throughout the media. And not, you all know his history, you all know his biography, you've seen the stories, and you don't need to hear any of that. You're not going to see any of that. I want to bring you something that you haven't seen, you haven't heard, most definitely some stuff you've never seen, and only the deep, tight, knit fan may have seen some of this stuff. Fans who really enjoyed him in his early years may have seen some of this stuff, but the people who just watch the WWF, I'm pretty much guaranteeing you'll see some stuff that you haven't seen before in this video. And I'm looking forward to getting it started. Macho was one of my favorite wrestlers, the top 4 favorite wrestlers of all time. There was just something about his look, his intensity, and his eyes, the deep eyes and that face he has. It's just, you could look into that man and to see something was off. This dude's nuts. I mean, you could just, the way he talked, the way he acted, the way he would shake around and he would, wiggle his hands and just, there was just some different about him that just sucked me right into him. And I was like, this guy's cool, man. I really took to him early on. Not to say I didn't like him later on in the WWF. I mean, I did to a certain point, but you guys all know how I feel about the WWF and McMahon. But I'm going to be focusing on a lot of his early years before pre-WWF, and of course, covering through into the WWF and WCW and beyond. So there wasn't a whole lot of print for Macho Man early on. He made his debut against Paul Christie in 1973, and Paul plays a pretty big part in Macho's career wrestling-wise, helping train him, getting him started, and being a good friend of the family is Christie. And Macho would take on a lot of his teachings and carry it on with him as he goes along. And we'll see some of the similarities for those of you who know who Paul Christie is or was, the Golden Boy. But Macho Man, he would go under a couple different names. He was the Spider. He was this. He was that. Randy Poffo is where we're going to start him out because that's the only time he had gotten any mention. We're looking at a 1975 body press magazine program from the Sheik's territory in Detroit, August 16th, 1975. And if you look right here on the corner, that is going to be one of your first looks at Randy Poffo, and it's quite a different look for the Macho Man that we all knew later on. Hair is rather short, got the mustache, long sideburns, and just some funky looking trunks and a jacket there. He would be on the Sheik's card in the lineup in the center of the program here, and here you'll see Pampiro Firpo taking on the Sheik, and Randy Poffo right here taking on Kurt von Brauner, the German. And don't think the Poffo one came out too good on that match. That was all Kurt that night. Also, his brother Lanny was on the card, as well as his father Angelo Poffo here. So August of 1975, August 16th, would be the earliest recorded Macho Man in my library, in my collection. And just one more look at that, because you're not going to see that again, because quite changing pretty quick. He would, from 75, in 76, 77, he would tour through Championship Wrestling from Florida and in Georgia. It would be in Georgia where he got his name. Ole Anderson had said to him, a man who wrestles like you, like a complete savage, can't use the name Poffo. And that's what it was. Savage clicked when Ole Anderson said, you wrestle like a savage, and Randy Savage was born. He'd have a pretty good run down in Georgia. He'd have victories over Bob Backlund. He'd have victories over Tito Santana, or back then Tito Santana was named Richard Blood. Ironically, that was Ricky Steamboat's real name, Richard Blood. Tito Santana would change the name later on. He didn't do too well against Tony Atlas and a couple other guys down there, but he did well for, a guy his size. He's 6'2". He's 238 pounds. That's considered small. He was lean. He had lean muscle, lean and mean. And another reason why I liked him, because that was different for my generation. I grew up in the 70s, and guys weren't that small. And it's just another thing that attracted, because it was different. His next appearance, sorry, out of order, would be in June 1979, and he'll be in an issue of Gong. I showed a couple photos, but I never showed this magazine with this photo. It's going to be the same match. 1979, he'd be back in the Cheeks Detroit territory, and he'd be back as Randy Macho Man Savage, and he'd be back as the ICW World Champion, taking on the Sheik, who was the United States champion. Right off the bat, you're getting an awesome center poster of the Macho Man sticking a foreign object into the Sheik's bloody forehead. Great looking shot there. Just an awesome color photo. Moving on into the magazine a little more. Sheik is going to get his revenge with that foreign object into the Macho Man's head, splitting him open pretty good. Sheik throwing his U.S. Championship belt into the face of Macho. Macho got the sleeper hold, and Sheik getting the body slam. There's a couple of really good early shots of Macho in his career in 1979, in the summer of 79. Or a little bit of an article for him later on in the magazine, and we're just got to get to the other page, and it's introducing you to the Macho Man Randy Savage, and quite becoming of his look. The hair is long, he's got the shades, the beard, the long robe, and that's the Savage that we all fell in love with. And it's basically giving him the introduction, introducing the Macho Man Randy Savage. He is the new ICW International Championship Wrestling World Champion, challenging the Sheik here in Detroit. And good looking shot of your first full color shot. For those who don't know, the Japanese magazines were all color. They were giving you solid color magazines since the 1960s, and they never stopped. While we were getting just basic newspaper print, the Japanese fans were getting hooked up. They'd be back again in this following month in the issue of Gong for July, and I showed this, I don't know how long ago, maybe 10, 11 months ago or so. I believe it's the same match, and just another publication, issue rather, and Macho Man's getting fire into the face from the Sheik, got him in the corner, and you see the foreign object here going right into Macho's throat from the Sheik. Real good, classic, old school, early Macho Man Randy Savage, and that is the July issue 1979. 1980 would be a pretty good year. Macho Man would start making some recognition in the American magazines. Not the major ones like Inside Wrestling and The Wrestler, but he would be on a lot of the Ring and basically solidly just the Ring for the first couple of years. December 1980 issue of The Ring's Wrestling, and we got Macho Man here with his manager and a look at the ICW territory. So it's not so much about Macho Man himself, it's just about the wrestlers, Ronnie Garvin, Lanny Poffo, or a few people to name. One Man Gang was there, Bob Orton Jr. was there, and here he is with his manager at the time, Steve Cooper. Macho would have several different managers over the years, and this is just showcasing one of the early ones in the early, late 70s and early 80s. Again, so this is your first appearance of Macho Man in this issue of December of The Ring's 1980. End of the year for that, and he'd be back 2 months later in the next issue of March of 1981 of Wrestling News. It looks the same. Wrestling Rings, News, and Review in 1980s were very confusing. So this looks just like Rings, made by the same company. It's just an issue of Wrestling News now. And Macho Man is back, and this time we've got him as the champion. And it's a full article of the ICW champion, Randy Macho Man Savage. And pictures aren't the greatest in these magazines. A lot of them were blurred. A lot of them were out of focus, and that's just the price you had to pay for the cheaper magazines. But these guys were willing to go to the places the big magazines didn't go to. They would go to small little places in Knoxville and Kentucky and here and there, and the other major magazines wouldn't yet. You had to be pretty much a bigger star. So this has got a good write-up about Macho Man, who he is. This is pretty much your first introduction to him and who he is. The issue before, like I said, was an issue on the new company, the ICW, that just opened up 1 year prior. Looking at July of 81 now, so we went from March to July, a couple of more months later on, and we've got Macho Man Savage taking on his brother Lanny for the title. Macho Man would beat Lanny for that title originally in 1979. Lanny was the first champion. Macho Man was the second champion in the ICW. And next page is some color. some out of focus shots. Can't see them too well. Don't worry, because I have every single one of these photos from the actual photographer, Crybaby Edwards, and I'm going to show you a bunch of those photos here. So you'll see some shots. But the main thing for this magazine, you got your first color pinup of the Macho Man with his title. Like I was saying, there was those deep blue eyes, the intense face, and the muscles ripped, shredded, and great looking shot of your first world title shot of him in color. Awesome little pinup here. And you'll find this Wrestling News, July of 1981. See if you can search it out and get one, and you'll have your very first pinup ever published of Macho. The ICW was an independent company. They call them outlaw companies. They call them mud shows. They call them, you know what? For us fans, we don't talk like that. We're just fans. Okay, so for us, it's a wrestling match. That's, promoters use that kind of talk. For us, we're just sit back, enjoy the matches, and take them more for what they are. And to us, it's just another wrestling company that has their own TV show. And they had 8 of these ICW program magazines. I have most of them. I'm showing you just one. There's a lot of things I wanted to show. I figured, I'll save some stuff for another time, leave some meat on the bone so you guys keep coming back. But these were pretty cool. These are very rare, very hard to find. You're not going to find these just anywhere. You're not going to find them on eBay for sale. I'm just going to show you the front and back. I'm not going to open it. I'm going to keep it closed. But this has got Lanny all busted up and bleeding with his battles, taking on Hustler Rip Rogers, and again, Macho Man on the top here with the title. And like I said, an extremely rare program of the ICW. I'm going to show you a couple of photos, and we'll go through a couple of these quick because I have a lot. I showed a couple of them in another video. I probably have close to 60 of them. I don't know, something like that. I just grabbed a handful of ones I thought were important, and we're just going to go through a couple, see a bunch of them in color. One of them in color, and the rest were all shot in black and white. But another good shot. Only good shot I have of Macho Man in a 4x6 with the belt, and early shot here when he was wrestling down in Mid-America, defending and going after the Mid-America title, Nick Gould's territory at NWA. Here's another good shot of Macho with the title, black and white. The rest of these are all going to be in black and white. Here's a shot of him in his apartment, sitting on his weight bench with the title. I can zoom in into this a little bit. Good shot here. Here's Macho in the studio, and another good shot of him with the belt. I love the belt shot, so anytime I can get one with the championship, I'm jumping on it for any wrestler that I like. And here is when he had the challenge with that he was taking on Ronnie Garvin and Jarrett and there's the shot of him again, but the police is there. This was all on television. This was all during the TV tapings on TV. He would get attacked shortly afterwards, and there's a great looking bloody shot of Macho Man here, bleeding with that shirt on and hanging off the ring ropes. These aren't in really any kind of particular order. Another shot of him in the apartment flexing. Another shot of him again with the world title. Another one with the world title. An action shot. You can see how real small the arena is. You know, handful of people. Their TV studio was even quite small. You know, maybe 40 or 50 people, if that. Another shot. Macho in the ring. There's a real good shot of him jumping off the top rope, coming down to the outside of the ring like he always did. Mach again, flexing it up. Before Miss Elizabeth, he had Miss Brenda Britton as his manager, valet, and here's quite a few shots of Miss Brenda, of them two together. Good shot of them in a little bit of a bigger arena here. A little more close-up shot of Miss Brenda. They weren't together for too long, around 80, 81 or so. It was rumored that they were, that was, you know, the Hustler Rip Rogers' girl, and Randy was apparently madly in love with her, and they had a relationship behind Rip's back, and it led to a falling out, and Rip and Brenda had to go. So he slaps her on TV. Here's him after slapping her in the side of the head. He takes her to the ground and gives her a beating on TV. Try doing that shit today. And there's some rare shots of the split between him and Brenda, and she'd be on her way. Macho would find a new manager. He'd have several. Here's that picture we've seen in the magazines with his brother for the title. These are all the original, like I said, directly from the photographer, Crybaby Edwards, and the last shot of Macho Man, good and bloodied up after one of his battles. So that's a rare shots of Macho Man, ICW time. Not many people have seen them photos, and I got some more. These are just, you know, wanted to show a handful, just to, you know, so you can capture some of the feel from back then. And next issue is, they don't have a date on issue number 75. I hate when they do this because a lot of times they don't put the dates on them. I'll look up the actual date and I'll put it in a comment for you guys if you're looking for it, if you want to find it. Again, it's going on about Macho Man and Ronnie Garvin in their street fight. You just seen some of these photos here when Macho was bloodied up and hanging off the ropes. I have these photos of Garvin as well here, bloodied up in the corner. So this is on issue number 75, Wrestling News. I will get you the date for that. I don't have it in front of me. Another one inside the Rings issue, October of 81, and it's just got a small piece now. Macho Man and his manager, once again. And not much, just there's more of an article than there is actual photos of Macho in that one. July of 1983 would be Macho Man Savage's very first cover. And here he is at the bottom here. If you blink, you'll miss it. It's your first cover. First of very many to come for Randy Savage. July of 83 in official wrestling. Pedro Morales is on the main cover. Inside is a decent write-up. Macho Man here on the inside with the ICW belt. I'm not going to open up all these magazines. This is the last one I'm going to open for you guys. I just wanted you guys to get the feel of some old, early Savage. Here's Savage in the cage. And what's interesting, is that the last page? A few more with Macho Man here with Bob Orton taking on Bob, and over here where they talked about his baseball career, where he's with the Cincinnati Reds with the uniform on, and a couple of early shots with him here. What was interesting about this is they have the official ratings, and they have the ICW here And that's one of the first times I've ever seen the ICW printed in with the WWF, NWA, and AWA. And it's got Savage #1 as the champion, Poffo, Ox Baker, The Sheik, Ronnie Garvin, Thunderbolt Patterson, the list goes on. So you can find all this inside Official Wrestling July 1983. This one's turned around. It's in 83, July 83. So Savage would drop the title to Paul Christie, the man who had his very first match, November of 1983. Who the hell is Paul Christie? Paul Christie, another champion. He's on the cover here. He was mostly a tag team wrestler. He did a lot of tag team wrestling down in the Mid-America states. And this is May of 1973. Golden Boy, Paul Christie. And he would take the title from Macho Man Savage. Company was kind of in dire straits at that point, and it was probably real close to folding. It would last another year or so, and Macho would come in and out, but that would be his final run as champion. Here he would take off, and he would be heading off to the Memphis area, the Puerto Rico, and then up to New York shortly after. July of 1984, Championship Wrestling is an issue where you get your first big color pinup of Macho Man here. So you can search this issue out if you're looking for a old pinup of Macho Man. And there's a nice one here. This is the first one printed. And again, that was in July of 1984's issue. Macho Man moves up and out, and he is on his way to Puerto Rico, and he is first magazine cover in Puerto Rico, and this is the April 1984's issue. Superstars is what this issue says, written in Spanish. This is the first, the only and official wrestling magazine for Puerto Rico, sanctioned by the World Wrestling Council and the NWA, and here he is on the very first issue of Super Estelas, and he on the back, he has his first black and white pinup and a good-looking shot of Macho in Puerto Rico. This issue in the 84 issue, it just has a pinup of him inside again. Trying to get August of 1984, you'll find another pinup. Not that great. They're very low quality. The magazine wasn't really, printed good. It was just, maybe 30 pages, and just, the quality is not the greatest. Nothing like we had, but still very, very rare to see these. They're not out there. If they are, you're paying a fortune. September's issue has got Macho Man. Actually, this issue, has him versus Carlos Colon as well. Got ahead of myself here. The very first issue, our Carlitos Colon takes on Macho Man Randy Savage. So the photos of him and Colon, he's going after the WWC Universal Heavyweight Championship title. Comes up a little bit short for that against Carlos. Here, like I said, has the pinup. He would take on Pedro Morales, who was the North American heavyweight champion, and Macho Man would beat him for the title. So inside the magazine, Pedro goes on to say the article about Macho Man winning the title, and inside you got some photos of the match, Pedro giving him the slam, the Puerto Rican and American flag, and this photo for the title match. And inside here, Macho Man and Pedro going at it with a couple shots. Pedro getting the chair shot on top of Macho's head. And in the back, there is a black and white shot of Macho as the North American champion. And that's another rare looking shot of Macho Man there. Here is your only color shot of Macho Man with the Puerto Rico title, North American Championship. Sorry about the glare. Good looking shot of Macho Man there with that gold belt. Inside, I think, is the list of champions and the ratings for all the wrestlers. Macho Man here listed as the North American champion, Invader the light heavyweight champion. First look at young Barbarian going as Conga the Barbarian. Diabolico 666 was his tag team partner. Actually, they're tag team champions here. Here's the Barbarian. Diabolico 666 was his tag team partner. They are the Caribbean tag team champions. So that's another good shot of him. He also won the Puerto Rico heavyweight championship down there as well. And I got him as the champion with the belt in one of these issues that I have. I got like maybe a half a dozen of these Puerto Rico issues. But the number one contender for Macho's title is Bruiser Brody, right down below. Those two were supposed to have a match in the States, and something happened and the match never went through. I think Brody was kind of taking care of Brody and didn't show up for the title match that was supposed to be for ICW, and that's when it went to Paul Christie to take the title. Not sure all of that. Only got dribs and drabs of that information. But again, Macho Man has a nice run. He leaves the territory. By this point now, he was already the Mid-America heavyweight champion. He was the ICW heavyweight champion. And now he is the Puerto Rico heavyweight champion. So no magazines really covered him with the Mid-America title. There's a couple of DVDs on the market that sell some old school, I forget what they're called. I could put a link in there. Amazon's got them. There was, I think it's just called Mid-America Championship Wrestling. If you type that in on Amazon, and you'll get a list of Mid-America, and you'll see he's in a bunch of matches defending the title there. Old school shots of him, early 80s. Macho Man would leave Puerto Rico and make his way through Memphis at the CWA with Jerry Lawler. He would go on to have a few battles in this USA issue of Japanese Pro. He gets another Japanese issue mentioned, and they're showing him with the ICW championship belt. But here he is against Dutch Mantel, and that would be one of his feuds early on when he got to Memphis. Another hard issue to find, another rare issue to find is this. Not much written about him, just a couple of sentences and not a whole lot covering it. He's still not quite the man yet that we would all know, but this issue of USA Pro has him in that Japanese issue going through Memphis. The Main Event magazine now, moving up in the quality of magazines from official and ringside, will be his first mention inside of the Main Event. Macho Man Savage, International Heavyweight Champion. Now that's the CWA International Heavyweight Championship in Jerry Lawler's territory. Now he was also the Mid-America Heavyweight Champion, and he would lose that title to Jerry, and he would win the international title, the CWA international title. Here he is with that CWA title. And he would beat Austin Idol for that. And this is an article covering that. This is also talking about where he's been, what's he been doing, and what's he's doing in Memphis, and where he's projected to go into the future. So pretty good article all about Macho here. And he's in a tag team here with, Eddie Mansfield, and just a pretty good close-up shot and some candid shot, him outside posing for the camera, and also with him and Mansfield again. Buddy Landell is also involved. And once again, there's some shots with him, and they also give you a pin-up when he was ICW champ. So some pretty good coverage in this issue for him in Memphis on the September 84 issue of Main Event Wrestling. Early 1985, still in Memphis, he would take on the manager of Tux Newman, and right after which took up pretty much an hour of Memphis TV, he did a video, an in-studio interview talking about Macho and his career, and then showing matches along in between. He's getting interviewed by him and Tux, and there's a shot of him outside the studio, and Macho here posing on his Corvette. This is a Lebanese wrestling magazine, super rare issue, hard to find issue, and your only shot of him. I think there is an American photo of this somewhere in one of the, maybe the 85 or 86 magazines. That's Wrestling 85, Wrestling 86, those issues. I believe I've seen that in there, but not like this, not on a cover. It's a pretty cool shot of him posing, and it's come, like I said, out front of Memphis. This is a fake cover of Macho Man. Somebody made this online. I just thought it was pretty cool, and but I believe the photo was after a match with Lawler, good and bloodied up in the back locker, and it's too bad this was never actually a magazine cover. That would have been an awesome bloody front cover. Wrestling 85 spring issue. Dusty Rhodes gets the main page, and there is a brother versus brother war. Macho again going to take on his brother, and this is happening in Memphis. Jerry Lawler was the manager. I'm sorry, the referee, and this was an empty arena match. So you can read all about the empty arena match and him just about to leave the Memphis territory and pack it up for the WWF really soon. And the next issue, Wrestling's main event, November of '85. It's talking about Savage hits the free agent, and he's on free to go, and he goes into the WWF for his first TV taping. He finally makes it, and he's with the big dogs now up in New York. And here's your shot of him on his first TV appearance. Great looking shot of him. He takes up 2 pages with that big, what Bruno Sammartino said, looks like a butterfly when he spread it out. Really cool looking robe. Good looking shot of Macho here as the free agent. Another couple of photos inside with the article, and they give you a pinup as well. He's starting from scratch, no champion. So far, everywhere he's went, Memphis, Puerto Rico, Kentucky, Tennessee, he's been the champion, and now he's up north. Let's see what he can do up north. PWI, November of '85, Flair on the main cover. This is going to give you your first color pinup of Macho Man. And here is your first color pinup of Mr. Savage in the WWF. So those who were looking for his poster, his first poster ever from PWI, finally getting some recognition. It only took you having to come to the WWF to get that. Macho taking on anybody and everybody in the World Wrestling Federation, going undefeated, taking on Hulk Hogan for a series of matches. Here's a program, and it is Macho versus Hulk Hogan for Macho's first match ever in Madison Square Garden. This is December 30th, 1985. The lineup, Hogan the champ and Macho the challenger. Macho gets the win via countout from Hogan. He had that same match in, I believe, the Spectrum and also Boston Guard, I believe it was, or was the Cap? I'm not sure which, but 3 in a row on Hogan for countouts. Here is Victory Sports Wrestling spring of 1986, and it has the recycled story we just saw, taking on his brother. And Macho now, next time he is on a magazine cover challenging Tito Santana, and he would become the new Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion. Did not take long for Macho Man to capture the gold. January's issue of 1986. Him and Tito, and he is now a champion. Here he is with Elizabeth on the cover of the new program, announcing the new champion. Good looking shot of Macho on his first program cover and with the belt. And it is Macho defending the title against Tito Santana, May 14th, 1986. And now he's made a name for himself and moving along well. A wrestler April 1986. Good looking shot of Macho with the purple robe. Quite becoming for his new solid look with the fancy robes. And continuing the battle on with Hogan, Randy Savage, WWF champion. What would that mean to wrestling? We can only hope to find out that he would get that title one day. But in May of 1986, we're just wondering. Here he is stealing one of Hogan's stealing Hogan's belt after the match during one of the countouts. Good-looking shot of Randy on the front cover. Wrestling Scene, July 1986. Nothing inside for him, I don't think. But they give you their first poster of him as well, and it's a big twofold poster of the Mach looking good and flexing. So looking for another poster. It's on this issue of Wrestling Scene, and July of 1986's issue with Koloff and Magnum's war during the Bash time. Another Israeli issue, Lebanese issue, Macho Man now posing on the cover as the world champion. And here's your first magazine that he would hit with the belt. Wasn't in America yet, but it's coming. The magazines are a little bit lagged. First ones to drop it for him as the title would be in Lebanon. And a great looking shot of Macho here with the belt. Real good close-up shot of him there. Macho now on the full cover of PWI. And this is his first cover of PWI, August 1986. Some say the best magazine of all time. If you make it to the PWI, you've made it big. You know, it's PWI was still nothing to us in the 80s. It was still Inside Wrestling and The Wrestler were the two best magazines. PWI didn't get, picked up until, like the geeky fans and, the 90s, 2000s, the business all changed and all of a sudden they just labeled PWI the greatest thing. It was, it really wasn't. The better magazines were Inside Wrestling and The Wrestler for sure. And I think anybody from the 70s and 80s time period would agree with that. August 86, Macho's first cover. Great looking shot of Macho on the cover. Finally, now acknowledging the Intercontinental Champion on the cover of Inside Wrestling, October of 86. And PWI didn't even really mention him as champion on the cover or show him with the belt. So they really should have there too. That would have been a great cover there. But there he is. First major big magazine with the belt. The Lebanese issue, 10 times better of a cover for Macho. Wrestler Annual, Winter 1986. Him and Elizabeth, Macho Man posing on the cover. Main Event Wrestling, November 1986. Not on the cover. We're talking about Hogan and the Macho Sissy connection. There's a little bit of an article with Hogan in there. The main thing is your bloody color pinup of Macho Man. This was back in Puerto Rico when he took on Pedro Morales when he won the title. And I know the glare is a killer, sorry. But this gives you an awesome poster in action. Pedro and Macho Man. Once again, the issue is November 1986. Make sure you buy that issue. The poster is included. Double Action Wrestling, Macho Man and Elizabeth at the bottom. Basically the same as that Wrestler Annual. Same kind of article pretty much. They were doing a promotional in-person meeting. You could meet him. He was signing VHS tapes and signing promo photos. So it really wasn't that great of an article. Nothing about his wrestling. Macho Man here, small corner, the most popular rule breaker. Whether we liked it or not, the fans were cheering for him, kind of like they did for Superfly and Superstar Graham. They were heels, but the fans were slowly turning him. January 1987. Ricky Steamboat comes up to be the next opponent gunning for the Intercontinental title. He went through George Steele. He went through Bruno Sammartino. He went through Tito Santana and a few others. And Steamboat now has his eye out looking for that belt. Another rough issue to find, and it's more or less a pin-up issue, poster issue. Macho Man here with the blue trunks, and this is a Wrestling All-Stars issue of poster. So tough one to get, and if you do find it, it's rather expensive. Superstars was good for their dream matches, and them and Luger on the cover, which would have been a great match for sure, absolutely. Would we ever get to see it? Who knows? We have to wait and see. WWF magazine, one of the few that I have. Actually, I have, whenever Macho Man was on the cover with a belt, I grabbed it. As much as I don't care for the WWF magazine at all. When Macho was on him with the title, for sure, I was grabbing it. Great looking shot, probably the best looking cover he was on by far up to this date, absolutely. And February, March issue of '87, Savage with the belt. Why do I have this? He is on. Macho is defending the title against Bruno Sammartino. We were just talking about the back and forth with Steel and Steamboat, and Macho defends the Intercontinental title against the out of retirement Bruno Sammartino at the Boston Garden, February 7th, 1987. I got to see Macho on that tour. I seen him versus George Steele, though. I would have loved to have seen him against Bruno. I didn't make it up to the Spectrum to see him. I caught Macho defending the title in Atlantic City, New Jersey, though. It was great. It was great to see him. That was more important to me because they had Pedro taking on Harley Race, and it was before all that King crap that Harley did. He was still Harley Race then, and that was a fantastic match. Those two old-timers really put on a good show in AC. Macho on the cover of Wrestling Fury, February 1987, and it's an exclusive interview. Real small pick here, not really much to shoot about on him there. WrestleMania 3 program. This would be the last event I would ever watch, the last match I would ever watch for the WWF. It's pretty much my turning point for that company and the direction that they were heading, and I chose to take other options. AWA, NWA, UWF, it was all out there. Florida Championship Wrestling was on TV. Pacific Polynesian was on TV for us. WCCW in Texas was on. So there was wrestling options rather than some of the cartoon-ish stuff it turned into for children. But Steamboat would take the title. That really annoyed me, but I was kind of glad. I mean, not glad, but I like Steamboat too. So if anyone got the title, I'm kind of, glad it was Steamboat. He was a deserving champion for sure, and thought that was good. I was just mad that Andre didn't get the title. And the next program up would be Steamboat with that belt again. Just thought that was a good shot there, and this has got Harley Race. This is Harley Race taking on Hogan for the WWF title here at the Boston Garden. Pretty good. I don't remember that match. I wasn't watching it anymore. April '87, Macho on the cover of Main Event Wrestling, and he's moving along. He's got don't have the title anymore, but he's going to be gunning for Hogan, and hopefully he can get a world title shot. Him and Steamboat now, some say it was the greatest match of all time. Could be, very good match, absolutely. And Mach had a lot of good matches early on, especially down in Memphis territory and stuff. He had some great ones. He's back again with Savage. Becomes a pretty much most of the magazines picked this match up. It was pretty huge. The feud went on for a while. PWI picking it up as well. Good looking wrestling shot for once. Usually PWI has mostly posed covers, and here you're getting a nice in-action shot, which I always enjoy. The in-action shots better than anything else. Sports Review, July '87, same thing. Steamboat and Savage feud continued. Wrestling Eye, good shot of Savage on the cover. This is April '87. Gold Belt Wrestling, good looking shot of Savage posed here, August '87. Macho Man sees the Honky Tonk Man take the Intercontinental title, and Savage, what's he going to do? Is he going to go after the Honky Tonk Man? Is he going to challenge Hogan? Which direction would he take? '87, fall of Wrestling '87, cage match now. Usually that's at the end of the feud and winding down with Steamboat on Wrestling 87. Savage, Hogan, once again, feud is rekindled. Now he's no longer the IC champ, and he's gunning for that title. October 1987 Wrestling World. Beefcake on the cover. Just inside here, there's no article, but another pinup of Mach inside with the robe and the glasses. He wears the glasses a lot. He covers his eyes a lot, especially later on. You can never really see that intensive look he has in his face. Even in his interviews, you couldn't see them like he did early on before he started covering his eyes up. He really had some intense faces and some intense interviews under those glasses. Harley Race now taking on Macho Man on the bottom, and Harley making his way through the WWF before he would be off to Puerto Rico as well, and he would capture the WWC Universal Championship out there in Puerto Rico, December of 1987, Inside Wrestling. Savage and Hogan, the first time teaming up, the Mega Powers. And Hogan and Savage are a tag team. Wrestling Superstars, pretty thick, heavy magazine. Good looking shot of Savage jumping off the ropes. Very much like he did early on in those photos I have in a black and white. Still doing it, still going crazy at it. And good looking issue there of Savage in 87. February now, 1988. I'm not sure if that was 87 or 88, honestly. There's no date on the front cover of that Superstar issue. But this is February 88. Macho Man Savage posing on the front cover, Inside Wrestling. Him and Elizabeth on the cover, February 88 PWI. Wrestling 88, Mega Powers, bloody Savage. Hogan also bloodied as well. Can't see it too good with the glare. You see his white trunks full of blood there. Both guys a mess. Savage once again on the cover of Wrestling Superstars. I'm sorry, Superstar Wrestlers. This is April of 1988. And Macho Man wins the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Championship. This was at WrestleMania 4. The glare is killing us. Sorry. Hogan is out of the match, and a tournament is held for the new champion. And Macho comes out on top with another great-looking magazine cover for the WWF, putting out a really good-looking one early on here. Good-looking shot of Macho Man. July of 1988. Superstars 3 and Macho Man on the cover of the next issue with the championship belt. First look at him on this cover, looking good with the title. Really glad for Macho to get the title. I didn't see that match until maybe 25 years later. I still haven't watched his other matches with Flair when he took on a feud in the WWF. Just you know, my own personal reasons. I had no interest in seeing them. As much as of a fan as I was, I just didn't bother. June 1988, Mach and Elizabeth on the cover. Inside Wrestling now, showing him with the, Sports Review Wrestling now with the gold title, and some of the coverage from Mania 4 inside. PWI, his first issue of PWI as world champ, and Hogan not far behind him, August of 1988. Cover Wrestling Scene, also every single major magazine now picking it up. Macho Man wins the world title, and he is no longer a heel. He's a fan favorite since forming the tag team with Hogan, and Wrestling 88's issue of him on the title. And also Jerry Lawler at this point captures the AWA title. Main Event Wrestling, August 1988. Hulkamania is dead, ? And the new champ, Macho Man, in the far corner. Once again, Macho Man Savage, heavyweight champ, August 88, Inside Wrestling. Every single major magazine, Macho Man now is a household name. and becoming almost as popular, if not more so, than the Hulkster. June of '88, Wrestling I. Cover of Wrestling Spotlight, issue number 1, premiere issue. I think that's premiere issue, it says. And full, good looking shot of Macho there with the headband and the gold. Oh, good looking cover. The Mega Powers, talking about Hogan and Savage, Andre, and DiBiase, October '88. Another October '88 gold belt wrestling. Sting facing him off to the sides, and on the bottom, him as champion. November '88, Wrestling World. Good looking shot of Macho Man. Small up top, but interesting article for the Dream Match. Flair and Macho Man, winter '88. Would that match ever happen? We'd have to wait and see. Of course, Nature Boy is the NWA champ at the time. January '89, Miss Elizabeth gets the full front cover. First time non-wrestling manager / valet gets the full cover of a PWI issue. Very first time. Macho and Hogan take a small corner shot over Elizabeth. February 1989, and finally, 3 world champions to be proud of. Macho Man, WWF. Ric Flair, World Heavyweight Champion, and Heavyweight Champion of the World, Jerry the King Lawler at the bottom. Wrestling Sports Review, February 1989. Here's an interesting shot on Wrestling I. It's got Savage down here when he was having a feud with Hogan in '85, '86, and he has Hogan's old belt, that other generation. Macho Man didn't win that belt. But they're advertising him here as the champion in Wrestling I's 4th annual Wrestling Awards issue. But I thought that was interesting, man. He didn't hold that belt, and it's looking like he is holding that belt. That's the Mania 3 belt that Hogan had. Great looking shot. Probably my all-time favorite of Macho Man on the program here, 167. And it just looks great. Reminds me of a Superstar Billy Graham 70s posed shot. With the colors and the championship belt. Looks awesome. Lean muscle, and just looks great. Wrestling World, April 1989. PWI, once again, talking about Hogan coming after Savage in WrestleMania 5. Is it going to happen? Could be. Yep, it does happen. Wrestling Power, April '89, Hogan and Savage. April 1989, Hogan and Savage again in the far corner of Survivor Series. Never ever seen one of those matches or shows. April '89, Hogan and Savage at it again, and Hogan now taking on Savage. The friendship has split. May '89, Hogan and Savage as the alliance crumble in the Royal Rumble. Savage versus Hogan, PWI, June '89. Now you're going to see nothing but Hogan and Savage for the next several issues. Everyone's pumping it out. Major news, Savage with the world title here. Older pick from Trump Plaza and Mania 4. Savage with the gold again, talking about the upcoming WrestleMania 5. WrestleMania 5 coverage in Wrestling All-Stars, and Hogan takes the title back. Supercard Sunday, Flair takes on Steamboat, Savage takes on Hogan. Hogan, like I said, gets the title. August '89's issue, Wrestler. And again, every magazine talking about Hogan getting the title back. Fall '89, Wrestling Superstars. Savage, good looking shot of Savage here on the cover. Wrestling I '89. Savage, Hogan, October 1989. Hogan and Beefcake partnering up against Savage and Zeus. Whatever that was. Savage gets pinned by none other than Roddy Piper and Hogan is scared stiff. That was November '89. And your last look, Macho Man Savage with the title in Wrestling World. He since lost the belt, but they're using an older pick. Good looking shot here. Just before he lost the title of Mania 5, you see the banner in the background there. Great looking shot of Macho with the belt. And now he is the Macho King. Last chance at glory. I remember another wrestler having that as well back in the 70s on the cover of a magazine. January 1990, good looking shot of Savage. The war continuing on with Hogan in 90 in a steel cage. 89 picture in review on Sports Review. Macho Man gets a small look here after Mania 6. Big event was to take place in Japan. It was it was called a Wrestling Summit. It was All Japan, New Japan, and WWF joint venture for the first time, and all three companies together, all taking on each other versus each other, which on paper was a phenomenal thing at the Tokyo Dome. Here's Macho Man, Macho King Savage, on his very first cover of a Japanese issue, and pretty sold out issue, hard to find, pretty expensive. All the Japanese issues are expensive, but this one more so. His first magazine cover of Macho. Macho and the Ultimate Warrior on the cover, 1990, of Power Slam, and this is a UK magazine, not in America. One of the first early shots of Power Slam. Hogan would be taking on Terry Gordy. That would be changed later on. Gordy refusing to do the job for the big wrestling summit that was to come, and he would not take it on Stan Hansen instead. But Savage would be taking on Tenryu, the former champion and All Japan megastar. That was a pretty decent match. They had two matches over their career. Their first match was much better than the Summit match, but this is a very expensive issue, and it's got the WrestleMania 6 preview, and it's also got the build-up and the poster inside for the Wrestling Summit for April. So if you get this, make sure the poster's with it. If you find it without the poster, you might be able to get it for like a little bit, maybe $75 to $100 less. So yeah, this sells for quite a bit, well over 100, 150, sometimes 200, depending. Very expensive issue, but Savage taking on Tenryu was a pretty, probably the best match of the night there. Macho on Gold Belt Wrestling, February 91. Macho King with the crown, battling it out with the Ultimate Warrior. November 91, Inside Wrestling, the Hogan Savage connection. Ric Flair makes his way to the World Wrestling Federation and takes the title, going through 29 men, Savage being one of them here at the bottom. They would go on to have a pretty good feud throughout the years. Not supposed to be here. Flair wins the WWF title, and he goes to Japan to take on Tenryu and a new company that was formed. That was in here by accident, so sorry about that. Savage, Inside Wrestling, August of 1982, and it's talking about him and the feud with Flair. Flair kissing Elizabeth on the lips in the ring. It sets Macho off the deep end. Wrestling All-Stars, good looking shot of Savage with the cowboy hat and the gold belt. And soon to be dropping the title is Macho Man. Inside Wrestling here, October of 1992. I'm sorry, I was out of order. Soon to be winning the title. He just won it. I'm sorry, I'm asleep at the wheel. Savage takes the title. Sorry, Macho Man here with the title. All-Stars, Wrestling All-Stars, September of 92. These aren't my years. Sorry, guys. I was not into the WWF or any of this crap going on in this time period. You guys know me, I'm more stuck in the 70s, but you guys wanted to see some Savage, and I got you as much as I could, and I'm just out of my knowledge here a little bit. I'll get back into it when it gets to the WCW. Back to second time with the championship belt, and here he is on the program cover after regaining the title. Champion again. Good looking old school shot. Bruno Sammartino had the first one with Lou Thez. Now Macho and Sting have the dream match. Pretty much the same look for the Battle of the Century as it was in 1965 with Bruno and Thez. Macho Man and the Ultimate Warrior on the cover. Macho with the title. 1992 year in pictures, and Flair would take the gold. Some pictures here on the bottom and some cover inside with Macho and Flair. Macho Man would go to the USWA, CWA territory. Jerry Lawler's in Memphis, and he would beat Jerry Lawler for the USWA World Championship. This is the wrong program. Sorry, guys. Damn it, I grabbed the wrong one. They look so similar. I'm just looking at that date where it says 92 and it took place in 93. Anyway, close your eyes and imagine Savage won beat Jerry Lawler, and still involved with the WWF at the time. They just did a little run-in on the USWA for those of you who remember that. Interesting issue here, PWI of February of 95. Give it up, old man, the insult that made Randy savage again, and it made it savage to where he wanted to absolutely kill Bill Apter for this magazine cover, and Bill had absolutely nothing to do with it. It took Hogan to squash it, and it took some time, but he was pissed at this comment and this write-up because he was self-conscious about it, and rightfully so. Out of nowhere, the Macho Man Savage leaves the WWF and pops up on WCW TV. And here is your first look at Macho Man on the cover of a WCW magazine, and shocking the world, showing up on TV, just leaving Raw and popping up on WCW was a shocker. The whole world will know who I am in WCW. Hogan is the champ in the WCW, and May of '85 Sports Review shot of Hogan and Savage in the WCW. Another shot, same picture, just a closer up shot. Hogan with the championship belt. Savage now. Good friends. Not quite. Here's October of '95 with the imposter Ultimate Warrior, the Renegade. Man, that was something. And Hogan and Savage, along with Randy Savage's father, Angelo Poffo, in the middle. First time you see Angelo on a cover. November of '95's issue, the magazines were dated ahead of time, but in the actual date, November of '95, Savage takes the WCW vacant title after Hogan gives the title up to pursue some acting in Hollywood. Macho Man takes the title. Thanks to our good friend of the channel, Bill Jammer. Jammer recommended me to this issue. I could not find a issue with Macho Man with the title during his first WCW reign. He held the title 4 times and could not find one for him early on. And this is the only one that he's on, and it's right here. It's really hard to see it. They put the font over the cover, which is a killer, but nonetheless, it's got Macho on the cover with Bret Hart. Here is a Wrestling All-Stars issue. I bought this mostly for the headhunters, being the what do you call it, champions? What the hell's the name? FMW Tag Team Champions. A pretty unique cover to find the FMW champions on. First time that's ever been done. Didn't have none of that for us in America. Mostly the Japanese issues had that. But so I bought it mainly for that. But 3 heroes of the WCW: Beefcake Hogan, and Savage, starting to look like 80s WWF there. Here is Savage on his second cover of a WCW magazine, and now he is the going after the championship. He had lost at the Flair, he got it back, Flair took it again, and he's going after it again. The magazines here just sadly don't cover it all, so they don't put him on the cover with anything, and it's hard to keep track of unless you look inside the magazines. So the magazines, at this point completely changed. They all, for the worse, really, compared to what we were used to in the 70s and the 80s there. So they weren't really up on, keeping us up, abreast of what the situation was on the covers. Hogan now back, like I said, as champion. Macho Man wants to take a shot. Hogan now back from the acting, and he's back now with the NWO, and Savage is still the good guy trying to hold WCW together. That wouldn't last too long, and Mach wouldn't be on the cover again until June of '99 with a brand new look and a brand new girl, Gorgeous George, and Macho Man with a really good looking look, I think. Put on another 15 to 20 pounds of muscle, solid black and real dapper looking. All the flashy colors are gone, and really thought that was a good looking, cool look. All that information is in this issue of WCW magazine. And the final issue, and it's your last shot of Macho Man as world champion on the cover of Superstar Wrestlers, October of 1999, and it's got Macho Man with the gold and his new look. And they even made a figure for that, and of course I had to get that one. Savage here with his new look. Thought he looked great. Was glad to see him get the world title one more time. Although he didn't hold it for very long, nonetheless, he was the champion for the fourth time. So you're talking about a guy who was a 3-time ICW champion, a 2-time AWA Southern Heavyweight Championship. That was defended in Memphis. He was a 3-time Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion. I'm sorry, a Mid-America Heavyweight Champion, WWC North American Puerto Rico Champion, USWA Champion, 2-time WWF champion, Intercontinental champion. The guy was a champion everywhere he went. One of the greatest wrestlers of all time. One of my top favorite wrestlers of all time, the Macho Man Randy Savage. May he rest in peace. And to all his fans out there, I hope you enjoyed something here. I hope you got to see something you haven't seen before. Just in case you didn't see something, you didn't hear something you might not have. Here is an ICW poster calendar from 1982. That sucker is really rare. I've never seen another one. And if I get you a little closer, it's got Savage here, Ronnie Garvin, when he was the TV Southern champion. There's the one-man gang when his name was Crusher Broomfield. All the stars are here. Hustler Rip Rogers, Pez Whatley, Randy Poffo. Pretty damn cool poster for the ICW calendar. I also have a print from one of the event programs. This isn't real. It's just poster art for wall art, but still pretty cool nonetheless. Macho Man there. But that calendar, not too many of them suckers in existence. But all right, thanks for joining me on the rise of the Macho Man Randy Savage, and we'll see you guys on the next.